This is the Dental Up Podcast, your daily source for insights from dentists and leaders in the industry. Brought to you by Keating Dental Lab, a full-service, award-winning dental lab that is here to add value to your dental practice. With high-quality restorations, friendly, reliable service, the best products and prices, come experience the Keating difference. Visit KeatingDentalLab.com for details.
Welcome back to the Dental Lab Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Brandon, the General Manager here at Keating Dental Lab. I hope you all had a great weekend and had some time to relax and unwind from the busy work week. I just got back from Arizona last night with my son. It was an away game this week. His Strikers team won 3-0 and remain in second place with a record of 24 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. Next weekend is Vegas, baby, for 2 games, and the NFL draft's in town, so that should be an exciting trip. Our guest today is quite an extraordinary woman and a great dentist, and I know I've seen her work. She is both brilliant and humble. Her CV is so impressive and her accomplishments so numerous that it really makes you think, wow, what have I done with my life? I'm not going to give away all the secrets during the intro, so you'll have to listen to the entire episode to find out why I'm such a big fan. We first came to know each other through a military dentist and a long-standing KDA customer. See, even with all this fancy advertising, word-of-mouth referrals is still our number one source of new clients here at Keating, as it is for most dentists. She's a 2013 graduate of the University of North Carolina School of Dentistry, will soon receive her mastership from the American Academy of General Dentistry, and can fly a helicopter. She practices in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So please welcome to the Dental Lab Podcast, Dr. Stephanie Price. Good morning, Dr. Price, and welcome to the Dental Lab Podcast. Thank you. I know you're busy, and I want to thank you in advance for your time and for sharing your personal experience and personal journey in dentistry with the Dental Lab Podcast crew. So with that, let's get started. Can you tell us where you went to dental school and when you graduated?
Sure. Well, first, thanks so much for having me on. It's an honor to be asked to come and talk. And I went to dental school. Actually, I was a non-traditional student. So I was in the Army for 12 years and then got out and went to dental school in 2009. I graduated in 2013 and I went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which is now called the Adams School of Dentistry.
Fantastic. And UNC almost pulled it off in the championship game.
I know. It's very disappointing, but they played very well.
They did. And a very successful season. I know that the prize at the end didn't quite, they were just one shot away from winning that, truthfully. But
I think the Duke game was the big one.
Oh, yeah.
And once we got past that, it was just a luck thing.
Yeah. Handing Coach K his final loss had to be a little bit nice for you guys. Yeah,
maybe not for Coach K, but yes.
Right. Okay. So you graduated in 2013 and, how did you transition after that?
Well, so because I was prior service in the military, I had the opportunity to get a health profession scholarship. And so they paid for my dental school, which is really nice. So I came out debt-free, but of course had a military obligation. So my first job out of dental school was actually at a military base. And one of the nice things about that job was not knowing very much about dentistry. There were a lot of other dentists who, had a little bit more experience, but were about the same, time in their career. And so we could share a lot of information. And I really got a great experience there. There were about 10 doctors in a group practice.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's built-in mentorship right there. And that's what every young dentist needs is another colleague to, bounce ideas off of and confirm diagnoses and to treatment plan with.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought it was really neat that you asked me that question because the more, I'm 50 now, so I've been working for about 30 something years. And the more I see the relevance in that first job out of your education. That's a pretty fundamental job. And I didn't put as much stock into it when I was younger about how important that first job would be. It's very foundational.
And that's true of every dentist that I've spoken with is, the foundation and those first couple of years out of school really shapes your formation and the way you view things, the way you treat people and everything. And it's kind of like like everything though, when you look back on things, it's an important experience. And oftentimes, and I'm 51, and oftentimes I look back on my early career and I didn't recognize those things either, but they are tremendously important as you get into your prime practicing lifetime.
Right. And there's a lot of pressure too, especially if you're dealing with some debt to find a job that pays well enough to handle that. So it's all a balance.
Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah, our last guest was a gentleman who's going to be graduating in a couple months from Temple. And he was sharing with us that he has almost $500,000 in debt. And that's a massive number.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I thank you for your service to our fine country, and you are doing a service to the men and women who serve and protect us. And again, I just can't thank you enough for that, but we're not going to go much more into that. And as you view your transition from a military practice into private practice, what are some of your goals for your future?
Well, I think dentistry is really an exciting time right now, with all the innovation, but also with all the changes to the way dental offices are structured. About 50 years ago, certainly it was just a shingle. It was a single proprietor that was very common. And now we're seeing a lot more networked offices and DSOs and multiple location offices and mega offices. So that combined with the technology and, patients are very discerning now, and they have other options like Smile Direct Club and that kind of thing. So they're learning a lot about the profession. There's a lot happening right now. I'd really like to provide a high quality service that, speaks to patients' needs and appeals to the things they want. Of course, it's got to be a business, so it's got to be profitable. Yeah. So it's definitely a challenging time.
I can speak to the fact, because I see your cases when they come in, I can speak to the fact that you are providing a very high quality service to your current patient population. And, you're choosing products very wisely. Your prep design is certainly, you have your end result in mind when you're choosing your preparation style. And it's phenomenal. I mean, you asked me a question in the email this morning on feedback and everything. And I guess this is one of the areas of the lab where we're a little bit deficient on. We only call on problem cases. And, and I mean, outside of, a couple times where we're verifying the material, I mean, we really don't have to call you about, oh my gosh, Dr. Price, I can't see your margins. What should we do here? What do you want to do? Or Dr. Price, I don't have enough occlusal reduction or axial wall reduction. I mean, we're going on several years of work history here. And how many times have I don't think I've ever called you on those.
Well, that's very kind and generous. It's when you're in the thick of it, in the big, dark, wet cave there, it can be a little tricky to make things turn out the way you want them to. And so I know there's always room for improvement. But likewise, Bob, like I think about the same thing. I've had one crown that I had to adjust, adjust significantly. All other crowns that I've seated have just gone straight in, and it's really been a pleasure. It certainly is a lot less stressful chair side when you're not doing a lot of adjustments.
Absolutely. I mean, the technicians bring cases up to me every day at the bench, and it's simple. We can see everything on a model. And I try to tell them, it's like, guys, you have to envision, there's a tongue here on this side, there's cheek here on this side. And, we have these nice bright lights where we can see everything, but the mouth, like you said, is a dark, damp place, and it's tough to work in. And
yeah.
And I mean, you're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, with the physical impressions and then digital impressioning. Can you tell us a little bit how you've incorporated technology into your practice?
Sure. I mean, that's really interesting, I think, because Tucker Dentistry, I don't know if people are familiar with that, but that's gold inlays and onlays and even gold foil. And that's like a very conservative prep technique, but it's pretty ground in tradition, rubber dam utilization, and they use PEMA for provisional. So it's a lot of things that are not really used today. And I found that even digital impressions do a superior job to VPS impressions for those exacting restorations. So it's really nice to have that to lean back on. Plus, it's so fast. We sent a case into you yesterday, and it was a pretty big case. And, it was you, when I called you to verify the material, you were already working on it. I mean, it might have been 15 minutes since I'd sent the case.
Yeah.
So that's really wonderful.
And we did get the second half of that, the second scans. And if you want to, we can elaborate on this obviously without divulging any patient information, but just the case type and your sequencing. Why don't you walk us through how you scanned and then, what we talked about on the phone and then what you sent us in after the fact?
It's still a little embarrassing because I'm not 100% on all the ins and outs of all the digital equipment, but I'm currently using a Sirona Prime scan, and I was attempting to take a wax up scan first prior. So we did that and it didn't quite mesh in properly. So we just sent the regular scan of the prep and then sent a separate file with the scan of my wax up of where I was going.
You did it absolutely perfectly, by the way. There's nothing wrong or nothing I would have advised you to do differently. Where we are right now with the cases from the scans, I can tell that, it's going to be minimal, but that was your goal from the onset. And we've taken the scans and we're now executing them in our model printer, our 3D resin printers. So in about 2 hours, we'll have all of these files printed. So I'll essentially have physical copies of everything you did yesterday.
That's awesome. That's really good.
It's very cool. Yep.
Yeah. Are you using 3Shape for that stuff or?
Yes. So we take your Sirona file, we import that into 3Shape. We have a program called Model Builder, and it essentially allows us to build a model from a digital file. So, any digital impressioning system that's out there, Sirona, Medic, Carestream, all these, iTero, all these files that are not 3Shape Trios files, we can still execute here with our 3Shape Lab software.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'd heard that other labs use those too.
Yeah. We have designed in the past with the Sirona system, the Cerex software. Personally, for us, we found it a little bit limiting. It is good technology, good, software and programming, but it was just a little bit limiting because on a daily basis, we produce many more cases. We're in the hundreds of cases a day. So it's a little bit slow for us.
And say, Bob, do you notice any difference in the scans from these different systems?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there are significant differences. A Prime scan is one of the best. It comes with a premium price tag for sure. But as you go into I would say the cheaper or more cost-effective brands of scanners, there are noticeable differences. All these companies and manufacturers are making improvements every single year to their technology. And I think the price point, if we have this conversation in another 2 to 3 years, I think the price point for these scanners is going to be right around $20,000-$25,000. And, the technology will be equal to what you're using now.
Well, that's good news because they are pretty hefty right now.
They are. Yeah. Dr. Price, can you tell us how you first came to know Keating Dental Lab and what types of labs you were using or are still using?
So I do a lot of temporary work in private practice. So a lot of the labs I don't have control over. It's a relationship that's already been established by the owner. I found out about Keating through a colleague who transitioned out of the military. He used you all, and he mentioned that you do great Tucker inlays and onlays. So that was a great appeal for me because it's hard to find somebody who can talk that language. And I am really pleased overall with the dependability and the quality of the lab. And the thing about working with someone that you have a good relationship with is really important, where you can, call up and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. Do you have some advice? Or, you can call me and say, hey, we need to do something different. I don't think this is going to be the quality you want. That's really important.
Right. And I mean, we have had those conversations in the past and, let's just, like a single molar that maybe a zirconia restoration will not work on. And I mean, you've always been so kind and amenable to, you know what, let's go with the gold crown. And the gold crown will work 100% with the preparation style in those cases. Can you tell us about, what types of restorations you're mostly using in your practice?
I do. I mean, in terms of lab cases, I do, crowns, obviously. And so far, as I'm transitioning out of the military, I have seen mostly dentate people. So I have not done a lot of removable cases. And then I do some sleep appliances and some implants. And then, of course, the normal direct restorations, composites and amalgams.
Yeah, you've had some great implant cases and, real aesthetic zone cases and challenges, and you've used Emax, which is one of my favorite materials on those. Can you tell us, are the patients happy with the results?
Yeah, I think they are. I think he worked with me with a case that was really challenging. It was number 9, and it was very deeply placed implant. And so we needed to use a little pink porcelain to augment the gingiva. And I think we sent it back a couple times back and forth. But that patient is phenomenally happy with that. And I was very grateful because that was a very challenging situation there on the distal of 9.
That's the top level of degree of complexity, single central and an implant all together. And you've got to match both pink and white structures. That was very challenging, but I'm happy that result was successful.
Yeah, he's really happy.
And it's not uncommon that those have to go back to the laboratory a couple, 2 or 3 times for adjustments if the desired result is perfection, which that's our goal every time.
Well, and I was listening to one of the podcasts you had on shade selection. And I think that's the other thing is us giving, us as dentists giving you the best information that we can give you without having the patient physically present to pick the right shades to match everything in the area. That's a challenge.
It is challenging. I mean, I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast, and, the patient's got a life and can't make a trip out here. And we all understand that.
Right.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, just two final questions. What advice would you give a young dentist that's just starting out in this profession?
Yeah, I really love this profession a lot. I came by it honestly. I've had so much empathy. I have so much dental work in my mouth. I'm very empathetic to my patients. I think finding good mentors is really important. And I've done a lot of CE. It's, trying to find the right niche for me for CE. And I think building connections with other dentists is really important because it is hard. It's very hard. And just having someone to bounce ideas off of is really important.
Oh, absolutely. This is a very difficult profession and nobody should go it alone. I mean, the role of mentors and colleagues is paramount in achieving successful results. And as a final note, I know you're tremendously busy. And again, thank you for spending some time with us and sharing your journey, really. When you have some free time, what do you like to do?
Well, I really like gardening. I like plants a lot. And then I like to travel. I'm hoping to kind of incorporate that with private practice and be able to take some trips, it's a challenge, but I think a lot of people are able to do that. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah, travel and dental CE. I mean, my father still does it. I mean, he's been retired for a couple of years, but he still likes to keep his mind sharp. And I was like, okay, Dad, go for it. Find a place. And he was just in Hawaii a couple of months ago, and he sat in on 3 classes. It's not like he needs it to keep a license active because he's not. But I think it's great, and the travel and the CE is a very fun part of this career.
Yeah, and meeting other people. And that has been one of the nice things about the military is really learning from other people who go to different schools. Practicing in North Carolina and having gone to school in North Carolina, I see a lot of people who went to the same school I did and learned the same things I learned, which is comforting. But, sometimes in the military, you get a really fresh perspective from some of these other schools that are phenomenal, but just teach things differently.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. When I was starting out as a technician, I mean, and it's it's not the greatest analogy, but my dad used to tell me, yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And, there's, as long as you have a good picture in your mind of the final outcome, there's often more than one route or path to that final outcome. And, different schools teach things differently, but the importance is achieving that great final outcome. And I love University of North Carolina dentists. You have a great science-based, education and fantastic clinical skills. And that's a wonderful dental school. And it shows it because you prove it every day in the cases you send to us. It's really a great education that you have.
Well, thank you. I wanted to tell you that maybe you'd heard this. When we were in our second year, we took a tour of a lab. So there's no place to see better where you fall in the spectrum of crown preps than to look at 50 people's crown preps from around the country. It's really enlightening and definitely sobering too, to see everyone else's crown preps, like you say, on a bench, in a very kind of pristine environment. It was good. Good experience.
it's challenging to see if there's undercuts, in the mouth sometimes. And on a model, or even on a computer screen, you can see it, readily. So I'd encourage all young dentists, in school. That's a great thing that the University of North Carolina did for you guys, because, you'll only see, 20, 25, 30 patients maybe on a day. And a big commercial lab will get upwards of 500. So you can see everything in one day by visiting a large laboratory.
It was phenomenally insightful. And also, understanding the challenges on the other side. It's easy to say, oh, it's the dentist's fault or it's the lab person's fault. But, it really starts with the dentist. And if it's garbage in, it's going to be garbage out. So the higher quality work we can do, the better job you all can do with the restoration.
Yeah, but we're all in this together. We all work for the patient. And sometimes we need to put our heads together and have a quick conversation on how we can solve these problems. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the job that you do for, the fine men and women in our military, all the individuals that protect us. So people like me, civilians, can put our head down on our pillow each night and sleep soundly, knowing that there's excellent people that have our backs every night. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate it.
You mentioned sleep appliances, and I have a couple of thoughts on that, if you'd like to discuss that real quick.
Sure.
So first off, I want to apologize for our front desk for not giving you a thorough answer, because in fact, we do them.
Okay.
Yeah. So we use the Meyerson brand, the Meyerson EMA.
Okay.
And I know that was at first designed as just a basic anti-snoring appliance, but Meyerson has made improvements to the design and the materials and the advancement arms, such that, and I don't know if this is a claim or marketing, but they do now state that it is an acceptable appliance to treat sleep apnea.
Okay. Yeah, and I have heard of that. When I first started making them, and I think it was 4 years ago, I struggled because I felt like the appliance demonstration that I got, the arms fell off the buttons pretty darn easily.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And I remember those days, and that's why we were a little bit leery on, marketing this out, mass marketing this out, because, myself and Jim, who's our removal manager, we weren't completely comfortable with the device. But there's been significant improvements in both the materials and the design of their appliance.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
As a second option, and this is kind of a neat workflow, there's a company, it's a Canadian company that we use, and they're up near Montreal. These guys were basically software designers from a Noble Biocare facility. So they understand, really how the entire jaw and the entire face functions, and the anatomy and everything like that. And they've come up with an unbelievable appliance, and it's very costly, and it takes, upwards of 3 to 4 weeks, but it's called a digital sleep apnea device, and it's just DSAD for short. We've done them for probably 10 or 15 doctors, but in their opinion and what they report to me is that it's 100% effective for obstructive sleep apnea.
Well, and yeah, I've heard of that appliance. I've actually used that appliance. It's really good to know that I can get one through you. I think it is a good appliance.
I've been tremendously impressed with it. It is a little more costly and it does take a lot of time, but hey, if solving the problem at the end of the day is the goal, this device does do the job.
Yes. Yeah, it is nice. I'm noticing that I think sleep apnea is going to become, or at least appliances are going to become more popular as we go through this golden age of dentistry.
It is. It's interesting. I mean, I was doing a quick search, just a Google search on sleep apnea appliances. And of course, there's an Amazon link and there's, 112 different products that Amazon sells direct to customer. And I mean, they range from $12 to $149. But man, I mean, it's quite a range. I'm not sure if any of them or all of them are effective, but I think get one from a licensed dentist that knows what they're doing before you waste your money on Amazon.
Well, I've seen some patients with those Amazon appliances, and some of them feel like they're getting success. But yeah, I think there's some added insurance when you're working with a dentist to titrate it to the right spot and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. We always laugh at the home dental market or, direct to consumer segment of this market. And, hey, at the end of the day, you get what you pay for.
Right. Yeah. But, that's like I said, one of the challenges with dentistry is to meet the consumer at their level. And these opportunities have made them very discerning. The consumer is very discerning about what we're providing. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dr. Price, thank you again so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate everything you've done for us here and our company out here on the West Coast and for your fine treatment and services that you provide. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate having the honor of being here with you today. That's really nice. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Dental Up podcast, your daily source for insights from dentists and leaders in the industry. This episode is sponsored by Keating Dental Lab, here to add value to your dental practice. With high-quality restorations, friendly, reliable service, the best products and prices, come experience the Keating difference. Visit KeatingDentalLab.com for details.